Jeffrey, if you look at the agenda very carefully, you will see that next week my dream will come true.
Oh, really?
Yes. I finally asked Julian to schedule me as the timer, and I will be the timer at the meeting next week. I think the timer is the best job because you get to sit right in the front, and all you have to do is put down the No offense to our wonderful timer. Okay, so, as usual, for my language evaluation, I have done my best to take notes about the ways that I have heard the English language used, and as usual, I have comments about usages that I liked very much and also suggestions for improvement. So, without further ado, to use an idiomatic expression, at the beginning of the meeting, someone referred to a cell phone as a hand phone. Of course, we say cell phone. And for an exam in the middle of a semester, we call them, you can just say midterms. I have 2 midterms this week, or you can say midterm exams. During the introduction, Jeffrey was giving a very exaggerated introduction of Peter, and Peter said, "You are flattering me." That's a very good usage. That is, in fact, exactly what Jeffrey was doing. He was flattering you. An excellent use of the word. Later, when Chiliang was being introduced, one of the 2 of you said of Chiliang that he is always behind the scene. And that's very close to what we say, and it's a very appropriate phrase. If we say a person is always behind the scenes, or working behind the scenes, it means that they are doing important work for an organization, but they are not the ones that are standing in the front and receive most of the credit. Okay, and I think that describes Julian as our webmaster and all of the miscellaneous things that he does for our club. But we use the plural, we say behind the scenes. Later, someone, I believe, okay, now this is Julian's speech, you referred to yourself as the hoster of a session. We can just say host. Host is both a noun and a verb by itself. I am the host. I am hosting this activity. He hosted this activity, and so on. Taiwanese, often when they are speaking, I see this a fair amount the longer I've been here, when you pose what we call a rhetorical question. That is a question that you don't want anyone to answer. You said, why we need evaluation. But when we form such a rhetorical question, we would always say, why do we need evaluation? We always would include the word do in that case. Later, you described your note-taking technique. You said to write in telegraph sentences. Do you know where that phrase comes from, or why they are described as telegraph sentences?
Because telegraph, you have to make it short to...
Yes, exactly.
Very quickly.
Exactly. I thought that was a very good use, although I don't say that. It's a very good use. So you eliminate unnecessary words so that you can write more quickly. You call it a telegraph sentence. Later, you used the phrase crying to tears. I never say that, and if you're crying, it means that there are already tears. So you probably just say crying. It's fine. The person was crying. And later, you said when you are listening the speech, where we would say when you are listening to the speech, and you said you can, about body motions, you said you can suggest me how to do some body motions. When we use the word suggest, we always, if you want to suggest something to someone, you need to use the word to. So you can suggest to me how to do something, is the way that we would use that word. Okay, not to pick on you, you gave a very wonderful session, and I think that a lot of people learned how to do good evaluation. Okay, moving to the prepared speeches, Rhonda, where'd Rhonda go? Okay, very good. I wrote here at the top next to your name, very good. I just have a few suggestions. You said at one point, decide which school to go. You had to decide which school to go. A native speaker would say, I have to decide which school to go to, or to attend. Later you said, after you arrived in Taipei, that this didn't go through very well as I expected, where we might say, this didn't go as I expected. It didn't go. I had a plan, but it didn't go as I expected. And you said later that you invited a friend to your family for Chinese New Year, where we would say home. I invited a friend to my home. I invited my friend to meet my family, perhaps, but I invited my friend to my home. Okay, Michelle. Where is Michelle? Okay. I like listening to your voice. You have a very beautiful voice. But I don't know if you noticed, even I, sitting here, had to lean over the table in order to hear you. I know it's distracting to use the microphone. If I have a choice, I prefer not to use it myself. But in a room like this, in order for everyone to hear you clearly, I think it's probably necessary. So I would suggest that you just kind of use it, even though it distracts your ability to move around. And also, I would suggest that you try to speak a little bit more clearly and introduce some pauses in between your sentences. It does sound a little bit like you're just reading a script almost as quickly as you can to get off of the stage. But I know that you're nervous, and I know that you're still working. So your story was very interesting, and I think if you can just do a little bit to slow down and speak more clearly and have a louder voice, more people will be able to appreciate what you're saying. Okay, Elaine, where is Elaine? I loved your speech, thank you very much. I need an introduction to Taiwanese dramas. Sometimes I see them on TV when I'm flipping the channels, and just like you described in your bit, the action sequences where someone is hit by a car or struck in the face seem so exaggerated that I just think it's ridiculous and I can't stand to keep watching. But it's very interesting to learn about the differences between different dramas. Obviously, I was completely unaware that there had been a change in style of Taiwanese dramas as of May 2008. I have one word that I like the way that you used, and I have one suggestion, or two suggestions. The first, you said, of describing the traditional type of drama, you said it's easy to add plots. And you used the word plural. You used the word in the plural, plots, more than one plot, plots. Describing a movie or a TV show, I think, for myself, I would say that there is only one plot. And what is added is a plot development. Okay, so some new feature or aspect of the plot has been added. If there is a change that is unexpected, there is an idiomatic phrase that you can use, which is a plot twist. T-W-I-S-T, like to twist a rope or a string. If the story in a drama is going along and then suddenly something unexpected happens, we call that a plot twist. If it was a little bit expected, then you might call it a plot development. You used another word that I liked very much, which was continuity. That's exactly the word that you were looking for in that context. To describe a story, if there's a problem with continuity in the story, it means that what's happening here doesn't make sense in view of what happened before, right? So you say that there's no problem with continuity, meaning that if a watcher, if a member of the audience missed one day, then they could still understand what was happening in the future. That's exactly the word that you want. Okay. Neil, thank you very much for sharing with us a wonderful story. My only suggestion for you is that if you're going to spend so much time telling us how wonderful and delicious ice cream is, you should bring some for us to eat. Because I was getting very hungry sitting there in my language evaluator's chair, and I have no ice cream to eat. But other than that, I think all of us benefited from your speech very much. Thank you for joining us. The table topics section, I just have a few comments. The first, Ted, when he was speaking, said, "I don't afraid about ghosts," where we would say, "I am not afraid of ghosts." When we use afraid is like hungry or tired. We say, I am afraid, I am hungry, I am tired. a later speaker, Stanley, I hear this